Hello, are you lovely people? I'm Lisa with Living Life with Lisa, and this is part 2 of questions and answers. And this part is the questions from Facebook. So bear with me as I read the questions and give you answers. And I'm going to do my best to maybe chop this one up a little bit more or not. I don't know. But there's many questions. I'm gonna tell you here in a minute. There are 22 questions from Facebook, and so depending on how much I had to get into them, we'll see. But I'm trying to have good lighting here, and I'm actually getting blinded, so I don't know if that's gonna work or not. I might end up changing the lighting in the middle of this. But the first question I got was, do I ever get lost or disoriented while driving? Excuse me. Yes, I did once while on camera in one of the vlogs. It shows me getting disoriented. They were doing some road construction, and a road that I was used to being on, when I came off the exit ramp and got on there, it didn't look the same, and I wasn't sure where I was at, and I was very confused, and I knew how to drive. It wasn't that. It was just that I wasn't sure where I was at, and I knew that I needed to get to a place that I could pull over and turn on the GPS and figure out where I was at. But by the time I found a gas station to pull in, I kind of was recognizing where I was at, but I needed to pull off anyway because it scared me so bad. I needed to pull off and catch my breath and kind of get my nerves back under control. The only other time that happened was I was driving in my town nearby, and they had rerouted traffic, and they were in the habit of rerouting it every day. Like you would go one way in the morning, and by afternoon it was rerouted the other way because they were totally redoing the road as far as how they wanted it. It went from a 4-lane highway to a 2-lane highway with new curves and sidewalks and a 2-lane turning lane, and it was just crazy the way they were doing it. And so it was very disorienting because of all the reflective materials, and I had to go pick up my son at school, and I got there and I thought, I'm not sure which way to go. Though as I look back on it, I'm not sure how much of that was being disoriented, or how much it was that I was so confused the way they changed it daily that I couldn't remember which was the way I was supposed to go that day. But so that one I'm not sure had anything to do with dementia, and had more to do with the way they were changing the traffic patterns hourly. But the time when I was coming off of the bypass and coming down to go home, I truly was disoriented. I didn't know where I was at. Second question. What is my source of peace? I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. I believe truly that my source of peace comes from my personal relationship with God. Now, with that being said, there are many times in my life where I didn't have peace. And even after I became a Christian, I didn't have peace. And I don't think that I worried when I first had my stroke, and the videos at the beginning are actually 5 years old. And when I first had it, when I had a lot of, I don't know how to put it, but in my head I was thinking I didn't feel the emotion that I felt before my stroke. In other words, those of you that know what I'm talking about, you can kind of feel the presence. There's an emotional attachment to this also, an emotional part of it. And after my stroke, I didn't have the emotional part of it. But it was like I never worried about anything because I knew everything was going to be taken care of. And I actually talked to my pastor about it, and he thought that I was having a crisis and that I thought that I was losing my salvation. I said, no, what I'm saying is, what about people with brain damage that don't have that emotion anyway? What happens to them? Can they accept Jesus into their heart if there's no emotion attached to it? And it led off to some other things, but I don't think he ever fully understood. And so one time I was in a hospital, and the chaplain came in, and I was talking to him about it, and he said, no, he said, what it is it is a maturity to that relationship. You know, in the beginning, like he compared it with his wife, and him and his wife, you know, when they first met, you know, they were all excited to see each other and couldn't wait to get home to see each other, and got excited when they saw each other, and everything was fun. And he said now they've been married for 10 years and they don't get all excited and giddy when one comes home. They're like, you say, hi, how was your day? He said, but the love is still there, but it's more of a mature love instead of a new, exciting, unknown love. It's more mature love. And I thought that made sense because I had run into a lady after my stroke, and I was having a really rough time as far as talking and mobility, and they were doing fundraisers for me in the town and at the school that I taught at because of I had very expensive medical treatments, and also because we had no income but at the time. So there was a lady that used to babysit my boys when they were younger, and we saw her in the store, and I thought, is that her? Because it looked like her, but she didn't age so well, so I wasn't sure if it was her or not. And so I just kind of said her name to see if she'd turn around and look, and she did. And she came over to me and she said, and we had stopped in after church. It was on Sunday. We'd stopped in after church to get candy bars and pop because that's what we used to do when the boys were little. Now we go out to dinner, but so we did. And so she said, how do you get through this? Or no, what should I say? How do you do this? And I looked at her because I thought, I don't know what we're talking about. And she said, is it your faith? And I still don't know what she's talking about. I thought, no, it's not my faith that I get candy bars and a pop, and or soda pop or soda or whatever we call it. And finally I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, if I'd been through everything you have been through, I would be curled up in a corner in a ball. And it struck me at that point that I was putting trust in God or trust in somebody, because I wasn't worrying about things. I just kept having this feeling that everything was going to be all right. You know, that it was okay, and I only worried about today and didn't worry about tomorrow. And I think that's probably where my peace comes from. And it's just, and it's not a conscious thing. I don't know, so I can't, I wish I could hand it over to you in a bowl, but it was never a conscious thing. It was always it just was. After I started, after my stroke, it was, it just had to get through the day. Just had to get through the day. And I never looked past today. And it got us through. So I think that's where my peace comes from, because no matter what happens, we're covered. 3, what do I share with my children? I'll tell you why I'm laughing in a minute. I've told them that I have dementia. I told them I had memory loss. I've told them that it's getting worse. I've told them, they knew about the strokes. If we go in order, had strokes, told them that there was some brain damage. And then when I got dementia, I thought it was time to tell them, because a neighbor had another kid had found the channel, and I didn't want them to find out from them that I had dementia, so I told them. And they all seemed to understand in their own little way for what they were. But in the last couple of days, the oldest has mentioned me having brain damage twice. Once yesterday and once today. And I don't know why he's doing that. I don't know if he thinks dementia is brain damage, or if he thinks that dementia is just a worsening of the brain damage, or if he's in denial of the dementia and wants to go back to it just being brain damage. So it doesn't. The reason I kind of chuckle at the beginning is it doesn't matter what I tell them. They are going to hear and remember what they want to hear and remember. And so if that's I think that's their way of coping and their way of handling it, and so I'm fine with it. I'm not going to beat them over the head with it. And as they get older and more understanding about things, then we'll talk about it more. How do I face the fears of the future? Most days I don't even think about it. My speech pathologist did a really good job when my scores started going down before I was ever diagnosed, to make sure that I got my ducks in a row. So pretty much all my ducks are in a row, except for I forgot to take care of me. I remembered to take care of the boys. I remembered to take care of the house. I remembered to take care of burial. I remembered to take care of everything. I completely forgot to take care of me. So right now I'm scrounging around trying to figure out when I need help, what help I need, how do I get it, who do I get it from, and how we're going to pay for it. So my only fear for the future, is that that I won't make it cognitively long enough to get the youngest one through high school and or college. I feel like if I can get him through high school or get him through college before any decline, or much of a decline, then I'm doing good, because I'm trying to think. This medicine is supposed to work, that I'm on right now, is supposed to work for 10 to 12 years, and I assume they put you on something else after that. I don't think they just give you one medicine and then, oh, good luck to you. Plus I'm doing all the holistic things too. But 10 years would put me at his sophomore year in college, and 12 would put me at him graduating, which would have my oldest 4 years out of college. So my fears when I have them is that I won't be able to hold up until that time. But my faith is that I will. There are days when I think I'm not going to make it through the day and it's an hour by hour thing. And then there's other days where I think, they misdiagnosed me, I don't have it. So, it just depends on the day. But as far as my fears, those are my biggest fears. That, and I don't want to go into a nursing home because I just don't feel like people with dementia get the care that they need in a nursing home, because when they're wandering or confused, who's there? I mean, it's the ratio of help to patients is terrible. And and they got a call button. Well, are you going to remember how to use a call button? I mean, really, are you going to remember how to use a call button if you have dementia and it's so bad you're in a nursing home? So what use is the call button? I don't... when I spent time in a nursing home, when I went back for rehabilitation and was on the nursing home side, there were alarms going off, and nobody answered the alarms anyway. So what was the point of having the alarms? And so I just don't want to go there because I feel like that's just throwing me in the trash, and that's probably my biggest fear. I don't want to be thrown away, and I don't mean to belittle. I understand when people need to put people in homes because they don't have any other choice, because that it gets to a point where you have to. I had to put my mom into a nursing home at the end. She was only in there for 3 days before she passed away, but still I felt bad about having to do that. But at the same time, nobody ever told me there was respite. I didn't find out until she had to go that I ever had a chance for respite. But but I couldn't take care of her. It took 3 of us to turn her, to change her, to do things, because she was comatose. And I'm not 3 people, I'm 1 person. And so it just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And so I don't fault people for putting their loved ones in a home. I really don't. But I personally don't want to ever go there. I've been in one, and it was awful, and I don't want to do it again. It might be different once I don't know reality. But I just feel like if somebody took me to a home and set me in a chair, I'd be sitting in that chair, and if there wasn't somebody coming in and checking on me on a regular basis, I probably would never get out of that chair. I just don't think that, at least here in the States, that we have... I could be wrong. I don't know. Do we have memory centers? Do we have memory homes that specialize in dementia? I don't know. But that's my biggest long-range fear, is I don't want to go that route. I don't want to end up there. And but at the same time, I don't want to be a burden. So that's probably my biggest fear. But hopefully that's way down the road, and I could get hit by a bus way before that. So we don't need to worry about that. What is the difference between MCI and dementia? Mild cognitive impairment and dementia. The difference. Whoa. Well, the definition, if you look it up, the definition of mild cognitive impairment is that it may or may not affect your life, and it's forgetfulness more than normal for somebody of that age, and it may or may not get worse. and it may or may not affect your daily life. Well, and then dementia is when it has it affects your daily life completely. And like my diagnosis is dementia with behavioral something. But anyway, what means is that my behavior has changed because of dementia, because I can no longer balance my checkbook. I can no longer do certain things for myself. Other people have to do them for me. So that's what with behavioral means. It doesn't mean I'm acting out or anything. It just means that my behavior is bad. But it means that my behavior is different from what it was before. Now, that's the definition you're going to find if you look it up online. In real life, there's not a great difference, I don't think. I really don't. When I had MCI, or mild cognitive impairment, I started a support group on Facebook. And to be honest with you, there are a lot of people in my group that have issues where they can't function in daily life. They can't go to work. Some can, but there's many of them that I question whether or not they haven't crossed the line. So but then they go and they get tested, and it's still mild cognitive impairment. So to answer your question, what the difference is, I guess the best way to put it is mild cognitive impairment is just a little bit of dementia. And dementia is dementia. And it doesn't always cross over. A lot don't cross over. There's no medicine, there's no treatment for mild cognitive impairment. There's nothing that they can do for you. You do brain exercises, and that's about it. And good luck to you. Once you get the dementia, then there's medication. But they won't give people with mild cognitive impairment medication, which, I don't understand how it works, but it seems kind of silly to me to wait until they get dementia. Let's do something to stop it from getting to that point. But not everybody crosses over. But I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I don't see a big difference between the two. The stigma of dementia is that once you have dementia, you're drooling and in diapers, and you no longer can hold a conversation, don't have any sense, you can't function, can't do this, can't do that. And in mild cognitive impairment, you can. And so I think that's where the confusion comes in. The mild cognitive impairment can get to a point and stay there and just never move, or it can progress into dementia. I'm just one of the lucky few that it progressed. But I tell you what, I should buy lottery tickets, because there is nothing about me that's normal. My hair color is something ridiculous, like 16, no, not even that high. Something like 12% of the population have my hair color. Even less have the blue eyes with the red hair. My blood type, only 6% have. My gene mutation, 60% of the population has one copy, but only 17% of the population has two copies. And then I forget what the percentage of people that cross over from MCI to dementia is, but it's not high. It's not like 50%. It's, closer to like 30% or something. But it's still on the lower side. So I just keep winning the lottery. But I should play, because your chances are pretty slim of winning the lottery, I think. So Maybe I go in there. There's 5. I can't find. Okay, I went from question 5 to question 7. So, apparently I lost count when I was turning pages. Okay. 7. What services do I feel I need the most? And do I have any personal advice that I want to share? Piece of advice from another I want to share. Services I feel I need right now are getting my house organized so there's less clutter. I need to help with some of the household work, and a lot of that is physical yet. Though my cat spilled water on the table and there was some papers on there, and I found myself standing there holding the papers and I didn't know what to do. I was stuck, and so I think I need help a little more than I think I do, if that makes sense, because I should know what to do when water gets spilled on the table and things need to be dried out. And it took me a long time. I just stood there with things dripping and thought, I don't know what to do. But eventually I did. A piece of advice, but I believe it says to have a piece of advice from another I want to share. My biggest piece of advice I give at the end of every video. When I had to leave work to go take care of my mother and to be her caregiver. And my very last day at school, when I had to go in and finish up some stuff so that I could leave, I walked into the teacher's lounge and it was full of people. It must have been lunchtime, and everybody was wishing me good luck and giving me condolences and whatnot. And a teacher from across the room yelled at me and said, "Lisa, no regrets. Whatever you do, have no regrets." And when I was caregiving for my mother, and there was days that I just thought I was going to have to beat my head against the wall, I thought of that advice, and I made sure that I made choices that I could live with and would not regret. And I was so grateful for that, because when my mom did pass away, I didn't have any. And when I went back and told her, thank you for that advice, because it saved me countless number of sleepless nights and from worrying about making decisions, and gave me such peace when she passed, because I didn't have any regrets. There was no what ifs, if onlys, and I appreciated it so much. And the funny thing was, she didn't remember saying it, but I do. And so that's my biggest piece of advice, and that is the best piece of advice I've ever gotten from anybody. And that's why I try to end every one of my videos with that, because it's so true. There is such a peace about it. When you can make sure that there's no what ifs, if onlys, at the end, you've done it right. And what strategies do I do to remember or remind myself how to do things or remember important information? I have calendars all over this house. I have a calendar outside my shower that I write down when I have a shower, when I remember to write down when I have a shower. We have a giant calendar in the kitchen that has everything on it, supposedly. I've noticed that this week it's been filled out very poorly, but we write everybody's things down in the kitchen, all the activities and appointments and things that we have going on, so that we don't forget to do them. Otherwise, they don't happen if they don't get on the calendar. My medicine's on an alarm. Let's see. I tape important papers that need to be filled out on the mirror. We put all the mail in a shoebox, and then my POA comes over and goes through that to make sure. Some of the things I have, I was going to see if it's handy. It's pretty handy. I have a little notebook that I carry around with me. It's a case, it's got the pen in it, and I take it with me and I write down everything I need to write down. And then I can always know where it's at because I can go back to it because it's the only one that I write in. The important information, I actually take, I put it all in the same place. It's like birth certificates and Social Security cards and things like that are always in the same spot. They've always been in that spot, so I know where they are if I have to find them. If it's information that remembering, like call, the specialist, or call the insurance company if you've been watching any of those. I take lipstick and I write it on the mirror, and I have to stare through it to brush my teeth or do anything. And so when I see it on the mirror, it can't come off till I get it done. And those are just some of my tricks. If I have to remember to take something somewhere, I put it in front of the door, and so I have to trip over it in order to remember it. And what's funny is I catch my boys doing the same thing now. If they have to remember something for school, they go put it by the front door so that they can't get out the front door to go to the bus without stepping on it. I'm sure there's other things. They're just not coming to me right now. I'm terrible about using my phone, except I do put my passwords on my phone, which I know everybody says is a big no-no. Don't do that. But I have to, because I always have my phone with me. And I always forget my passwords. And you know what? It's just too bad if somebody hacks in there and gets it, because that's the only thing I know to do. That's the only thing that's worked for me. It has worked for me, and so I'm going to continue to do it. Post-it notes are awfully good too.